welcome back to Safe Space. I'm your host, Chris Edwards. Safe Space is a community where LGBTQIA plus voices are not only heard, but celebrated. This is a place to share our stories of acceptance, of trials and triumphs, of growth and resilience. Whether you're beginning your journey or have been walking this path for years, this space is for you. On today's episode, I'm honored to share the stage with someone who truly embodies what it means to hold space for honest, healing conversations. He is the host of Tea with TJ, a podcast where love for tea, meaningful dialogue, and self-discovery all come together. His belief, his life is messy, but sometimes all you need is a warm cup of tea and an open heart to help you through it. Tea with TJ dives deep into human experience, exploring how we can better understand ourselves and grow through life's challenges. His vulnerability, compassion, and curiosity inspires so many to take the next step on their personal journey. So today we're going to have a spirited and frank conversation about life, healing, and everything in between. Everyone, please join me in giving a warm, safe space welcome to the founder and host of Tea with TJ, Mr. TJ Bolden. TJ, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me today.
Oh, absolutely. So in full disclosure, TJ has been on another show that I do over on the original conference call on our other YouTube channel. You've been on the recap show with us, and you co-hosted one episode. How was that experience?
It was great. I don't think I've ever done like a recap show, so that was my first one, and you all were very welcoming, and it was fun. It was super fun.
Yeah. And, after the show, when we were wrapping up, we were talking. I was just like, I think I'd love to have you on Safe Space. I think you'd be a great fit. So here we are. Yeah. But before we get started, I want to try something a little bit different, a little bit new. I actually have to give credit. I stole this from Gwendolyn Houston Jack.
Okay.
She is my, I would say, my Friday night partner in crime over on Indie Soup Media, where this is going to air in addition to on Constantly Changing for me. She does some rapid fire questions in the beginning of the show. It's kind of like icebreakers, just to kind of get the conversation started. And I wanted to try to do that. This season's all about change, and I want to try something different. So let's get into these rapid fire questions. All right, just throw out a quick answer, and we'll see where it takes us. All right. So the first one. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh, I have two. I will say I have two. It is Proud Mary, and I do both parts. I do Ike and Tina. And then Feed Me from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, my husband would love you. He does. He loves Little Shop of Horrors. That's one of his favorites. If he was to do Broadway, that's what he would do. All right. Okay. Next question. Favorite comfort show?
Oof. It would have to be, don't judge, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I can put it on at any time of day, whatever I'm feeling. It just, I don't know, it does something for me.
It does it for you. Okay. Morning or night person?
Night person.
Okay. One word to describe your podcast?
Ooh. Cozy.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. And then the last one word to describe yourself 10 years ago versus now.
Ooh. Changed.
I like that.
Yeah.
Evolution, change. Yes. All right, so let's dive into it. So one of the things I always like to do when we start off these conversations is to kind of get a little background, and then also just to see where you've started. And it's kind of like a coming of age when you realize that you were unique. I'm not going to say different anymore. I'm going to say unique.
Okay.
And first of all, even before that, how do you identify?
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm still awake because clearly I just said I was not a morning person. I am a polyamorous pansexual male presenting. And it has been a journey to get there. To say the least. Yeah.
We'll dive into that a little bit deeper as we get into it. But tell us what your journey has been. Like, when did you discover who you were and your uniqueness? What age?
Oof. I think I would probably say, like, going like way back, I would probably say like what grade is that? Maybe like second or third grade. So how old are you then? Like, I don't know. I don't
Seven,
remember.
eight, seven,
7, 8.
eight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had an experience where I was in elementary school, and I've always wanted to sing. I've always like sung, like my family sings. My dad's side is they're full of singers, and I grew up in the church, so like that whole spiel. But I remember in my elementary school they were auditioning for the school choir, and the rule was that you were only allowed to be in it if you were in third, fourth, or no, fourth, fifth, or sixth grade. Anyone below fourth grade, you couldn't be in it, right? It was like the golden rule. And I remember going to my music teacher, Mr. Sterling. I will never forget his name. And I went to him and I said, I just need one chance. And then if you say no after that, sure. But I at least want the opportunity to just present to you what I have to offer. And I went in there and he gave me an audition. I auditioned. I was in the third grade. I auditioned and I got it. Like, he was like, okay, yeah, no, I think we need you. So I was one of the few people at that time that slid in under the radar and was in the choir with the fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. So yeah, I think I kind of knew after that. I was like, oh, maybe there is something slightly different about me,
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's that journey been since that early discovery? Because I mean, I think that's a little early, or around the same time most people do. But to know that you're unique, what has that storyline been for you from that age until like adolescence?
I mean, I think it's been and not to plug my show, but I think it's been really about self-discovery for me from that moment on, because since that moment of saying yes to myself and saying, okay, I know that I'm worth this amount, or I know that I'm worth something, even though the world tells me otherwise. I mean, especially at that age in like mid 90s. But I think the journey through that and to where I am now has really kind of shaped the person that I am. And it's really taught me that like, you don't know unless you ask, right? Or unless you present, unless you take advantage of the opportunity in front of you.
Right.
And it continue. I mean, even now it continues to shape like how I move through the world, and how I approach things and how I problem solve. I don't believe in there's only one way to do something, right? I don't believe that there is just one answer. I think that there's a route for all of us to achieve the same goal. My path may be different than yours, but we can still get to from point A to point B, pretty much.
Right.
Right.
Let me ask you this, because you've mentioned you're polyamorous, and I don't think you didn't have those words when you were 7, 8 into your early adolescence. So, what did you think that you were or identified at that particular time in your life?
When I was younger, I definitely identified as straight. It was not until, let's see, I would say when I got to high school, I was still very much in the closet and trying to figure out my stuff and figure out who I was and where I fit when it came to my sexuality. I would say around 10th or 11th grade. So what is it, like 15, 16, somewhere in there, is when I really started to explore and really ask myself questions of like, okay, what am I actually attracted to? What do I like? What do I find interesting? And I would say between 10th and 11th grade, I definitely skated that like bi line, and trying to figure out, well, I kind of like girls, but like I don't really want to have sex with girls. But then I also like guys. I find guys attractive, but like I don't really know what to do. And I would say that I think that's where the essence of my pansexualness comes from, because I do still find women attractive. I just may not want to have a sexual relationship with them. There are very few people that I could have it with, if it gets there, but for the most part, I'm attracted to male presenting folks. Like that is what I find attractive. But I think I would say like 11th grade is when I really started to like explore relationships with guys. I had a boyfriend when I was in 11th grade. My first boyfriend didn't last long. But I mean, you know, no high school relationship is
Yeah,
worth
they're
a penny,
fleeting.
you know. Um, but then when I got to college, I remember going into my freshman year and saying to myself, and this is goes back to like the opportunity presented in front of yourself and like really focusing on you and the real like self development. I remember going into my first year and telling myself, okay, you have a clean slate. No one knows you. You have an opportunity to be whatever you want to be. Go with that and see what happens. And sure enough, within the 3 months of me being there, I met my partner that I have been with since 2007. So like we met in college. Yeah. I
Oh
wasn't looking
wow.
for him. Wasn't looking for him. I was ready to like, you know, wild out in college. I was like, oh, I'm not at home. Like I can just do what I want to do.
Do whatever.
Yeah. And sure enough, within that first 3 months, we met and like we've been together ever since. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So, I think you found self-discovery and
Mm-hmm.
you found your person all in like the same
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
which is rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rare.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I say, like, when
So
people ask me, I'm like, I promise you, the moment you stop looking, they will come to you. You know?
listen, you ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
I tell this story all the time, and people who know me know my story.
Mm-hmm.
I was not looking. Ronald was not looking, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when we just happened to our paths cross. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if it wasn't for social media, our paths never would have crossed. I've been to Delaware maybe like once or twice, just in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the age difference.
Yeah.
We don't run the same circles,
Mm-hmm.
in any respect. So I never would have met him. But when you're not looking for love
Mm-hmm.
or a relationship, 9 times out of 10, it's going to find you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it's the best way for it to happen. I've told the story too before. My grandfather said to me many, many years ago, I was probably like 13 when he said this to me. He was like, you know what? Don't go looking for love. It'll find you.
Mm-hmm.
And I always remember that. I've always kept that in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Anytime I've gone out there looking for a relationship, it's never really lasted.
Mm-hmm.
It's had its moments, but the moment I wasn't looking and I just kind of like put it out there that I'm just doing me,
Yeah.
boom, right on my front doorstep.
Mm-hmm. That's how it
Awesome.
happens. Yeah.
All right, so explain to people, for those that don't know what pansexual is,
Mm-hmm.
just give a brief overview of what it is to be pansexual.
Mm-hmm. So pansexuality essentially is an attraction to people energy, and not to genitalia, right? They're not attracted to what you have. They're attracted to you as an individual. And so I found myself between late high school, early college, where it was more important to me, more valuable to me to find attraction in the actual person, right? And less about what we could do sexually. And I mean, there's a person, I won't name the person, but there's literally a person out there that we met in high school that legitimately, like, I love this person to death. And like, if things ever shook out, like they could have been number one. I'll say that.
Okay.
They could have been number one. But our paths just went in different directions. But that's essentially what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 All right. And you said now you have an established relationship, almost 20 years going strong.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you didn't really have to deal with a lot of dating and having to get to know people and then letting people know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that let's just step back a little bit. Let's talk about family, because family plays a huge role.
Mm-hmm.
And then also friends.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like, letting people in and letting people know, hey, this is who I am, this is how I identify.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, I know that people tend to understand more when you say, oh, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, or even when you say I'm bisexual. But when you say I am a pansexual and I'm poly, people start to say, all right, well, what is all this and what does this mean?
Yeah.
What was that conversation, say, with parents and friends?
Mm-hmm. I will say that conversation has not happened.
Okay.
It's been much easier to label it as what they know, because both of my parents come from a certain generation. So like, to identify just as gay is much easier for them to digest than to name what I actually am. But even in that, like I grew up down south. I grew up in Tennessee, so like both sides of my family are church folk.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard. It was hard for them to digest. And the crazy thing is, I will say this: the crazy thing is that my mom's side of the family took it harder than my dad's side of the family. And I
Okay.
didn't grow up with both parents, right? Like they got a divorce when I was like 6 or 7 or something. Um, but my dad's side of the family, who is the preacher side, was a lot more accepting than my mom's side of the family. It was crazy. Like that. I
That's
was
interesting.
concerned. Yeah, like I was concerned of the flip of that. But it took a while. It took a while for my mom's side to come around. But I think and this speaks to the type of person and human being that I think I am, that it took them a while to come around, but I think I also was able to show them that nothing had changed, right? Just because you now know this piece of information, it doesn't negate all the other pieces of me that you do know to be true,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I would say it took I think about a year until anyone really kind of like started talking to me again, like consistently anyway,
Okay.
which was fine. Like, I am also a firm believer that like sometimes people need to take space and time to process, right? Because to to them, I uprooted an idea that they had of me, right? Because they knew me from when I was this big. But
Yeah.
I know this to be true, and I'm sure you and your listeners know this to be true, that like we change, we evolve, we continue to progress through life, right? I would never dare to say that my mother or anyone on that side of the family is the same child that they were than they are now, right? Like so much
Absolutely.
stuff has happened that has influenced their life and, created them and molded them into the person that I know when I was born, right? So I give them grace in that space, and like during that time obviously it was hard, but like I think I was at a unique moment in time in my life that I was like, I kind of expected this and that's fair,
Yeah.
but also I'm gonna continue to live my life because I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to go on tour. I'm trying to be in a show. Like, I don't have time to stop and process this with you. Now, do you deserve to process this? Absolutely. But I can't afford to do that right now because I have 10 million other things that I'm trying to accomplish in my life. And at that moment in time, I think I was 25 when I came out. I was like, at that moment in time, I'm like, I'm just getting started. Like, I'm just getting started in New York with like seriously auditioning and like trying to pursue this acting career. I don't have time for that. Like, I love y'all, but I don't have time for that. So eventually they came around, and I will tell you this quick short story about my father's side of the family.
Take your time.
They, they, we all look alike on that side. Like my genes
Okay.
are strong from that side of the family.
Okay.
It was wild to me because I had come out to my brother, my half brother, and my cousins maybe like at one of my aunt's weddings. I don't remember the year, but it was probably like 2014, 15, somewhere in there. But I came out to all of them one night. We were drinking and like having fun because we hadn't seen each other in a while. Came out to all of them. They were like, okay, we kind of knew. We were just waiting on you to say something, right? So that was a relief. Fast forward to I think they got married in 2021. My brother got married in 2021. Went to the wedding. My brother and his now wife, but fiance at the time, had already met my partner, right? So they knew him. They invited both of us to the wedding. I wasn't expecting that. I was still prepared because I had not actually had a conversation with anybody on that side of the adults. I had not had a
Okay.
conversation with anyone. I wasn't expecting for both of us to be there. We got invited to the wedding. So we went, right? We showed up. I was like, at least I know the cousins know, my brother know. Like we gonna see what happened. Sure enough, aunts, my dad, stepmom, open arms. You know what I mean? Like,
Mind
mind
blown.
blown. I was not prepared. And I remember we were sitting in the pool, like hanging out, and my stepmom came to me and like said something to me. I was like, what? Like, how is this side, the preacher side, the one that's more accepting than, the person that I grew up with? But yeah, it was interesting. And I think that's one of the that goes back to what I said earlier of like, you never know unless you ask, right? Unless you present it. So I think even in that, being in a space to be open and receptive to what they could give me without even assuming that that's what it was going to be, I think, truly spoke to the type of humans that they all are. So,
yeah. Isn't it interesting how we always make situations harder in our minds than it actually is in reality? I mean, I've been doing this now. This is the third season of doing this, and in a couple of years. And I find that every time I talk to someone, the individual who is going through the experience is the one that has the hardest time with it and have preconceived ideas and notions of what everyone else is going to expect and think of them. And it always turned out to be, for the most part, the opposite of it. Because I had a similar experience. Like, I thought like two of my best friends, I thought my father would have had an issue with it. I even thought maybe my mom might have an issue with it when I told her. But like everyone was just so opening and welcoming. And I think, part of my experience of having such a positive experience was the fact that when I told people I was already married, so they didn't have a choice in like, oh, you're just out there dating men and doing this and doing like, no, I'm in a committed relationship. I'm married. I'm living with my husband. So I was just like, all right, well, welcome to the family. But yeah, we always make it out to be worse than what it actually, the reality of it is. Look, let me just ask a question. You've been with your partner for almost 2 decades. Where do you see it just staying in this particular space, or do you see maybe like getting married and kids? What does your future look like?
I think marriage is in the cards. Technically, by common law in New York State, we technically are there. Because we've been together so long. But it's definitely in the cards. I think for both of us, because we are creatives, we both have a little bit of ego when it comes to being married, of like, both of us want it to be completely sustainable before we make that decision, because we also understand that like there's a lot more that goes into it outside of love. There are a lot of like financial implications and like taxes and all that kind of stuff, and we don't want to bring each other's debt into the marriage, right? Into that kind of like commitment. So I think that's kind of where we stand. But I remember probably around year 4 of us being together, because again, this was the longest relationship that I had ever had. But around year 4, we had a moment together, like a typical couple disagreement or argument. And because I had not experienced this, right, I was concerned. I was like, I love you. I don't want this to end, right? And I remember him telling me, he was like, you're my person. Like, no matter what happens, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I need you to know that like, yes, I will get angry sometimes and we will have arguments, but like, I'm not going anywhere. And I think that's what solidified for me that like, oh, okay, got it. Like,
this
we're
how
in
this
this.
Works.
Yeah, like we are in this. And I think that, and I've shared this with him before, that I think because I've been witness to so many other relationships during my childhood that were not successful, right? That like ended in divorce, that, lasted 2 or 3 years or 10 years and then fizzled out. I didn't have a real reference for something that could actually last, right? So to now be in this situation where we're almost 20 years in, I'm like, okay, now I feel comfortable. Now I'm like, okay, like, yeah, no, you're not going anywhere. Like, I'm good. But in the beginning, in the first 4 years, like, hell, even in like year 6, I was like, oh, wait, are we going to make it? But now I'm like, okay, no, like, I now believe that we are actually like, this will be when we grow very old. Like,
lifetime, lifetime.
Yeah.
Ball and chain, as they would say.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about your journey in self-discovery and personal growth. I want to get into more of the creative side and why you created Tea with TJ.
So it came out of conversations that I've been having with friends. So in my creative life, I'm a musical theater performer, and I have toured a bunch. I have done regional work. The running joke is that I'm usually never in New York longer than a year until I go away for a year. Uh, and anytime I would come back from a contract or like finish a show, I would meet up with friends that I had not seen in a while, right? Or like we would be doing shows separately and like constantly missing each other. And I would always meet them at like one of my favorite tea shops in the city. And we just sit and have a conversation about life and like check in and catch up. And I remember having a conversation with my friend Justin, who has also started his podcast. It's called a Justing Podcast, so check that out.
Okay.
But we were having a conversation, and I was like, "Ooh, this should be recorded." Like we just had like a whole like come to Jesus moment, or like a as an Oprah would say, an aha moment. I was like, somebody should, we should share this. And so that kind of started the ball, and I kind of put it in the back of my mind for a while because I was like, when am I going to have time? I don't know anything about doing a podcast. Like, what is that? And it wasn't until, because I'm now in season 4, recording season 4 right now. I think almost 2 summers ago, I sat down one day and was just having these thoughts that I wanted to get out. And initially, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just make this an audio journal for myself, right? Just reflective thoughts and kind of like figuring life things out. And of like, I learned this today. I'm having this cup of tea and I'm like kind of in my mind and like in my head, just really reflecting on all the things that I've been able to accomplish and all this kind of stuff. And so it started, if you go back and listen to season 1, that's where it started. Obviously, with the creative mind and like branding it and really making it into something, it transitioned into a guest type of show. But it has been going pretty well. It's for me, I think the purpose of the show is to speak to 20-year-old me or someone like me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
My hope is that like it reaches that type of audience to be able to give these little life insights of self-discovery, of figuring out yourself, figuring out your sexuality, figuring out how to appreciate your own worth, right? Like really saying, oh, I'm actually worth something. Like, because I think, and I don't know, maybe it's New York City actors, but we all, especially in our younger years, we all are questioning everything, right? We're questioning, am I good enough? Am I going to book this job? Like, I've gotten a million no's and no yeses. Like, why am I doing this? Should I continue to do this? And so a lot of those conversations happen with creatives later in their lives that like can speak to, the million no's, the how big, sorry, of course,
No, that's all right.
Apple.
It happens. It happens.
They can speak to the million no's and they can speak to why the one yes matters, right? And how that can affect and change and impact your life. So that's essentially what the show is. And it all happens over a lovely cup of tea because I love tea.
All right. That was my next question, actually.
Mhm.
Like, how did tea become such an integral part of this story?
So I've been a tea lover since I was a child. In college, they don't exist anymore, but I discovered this place called Tivana. And I had never when I say kid in a candy store, like I had never experienced a wall of just different types of teas, and my mind was blown. And I immediately spent way too much money and like tried a bunch of different things, and like my mind was cracked open. So that's kind of where like I guess you could say the obsession started with tea. But there's so many like unique properties, and like there are like several different types of tea that come from 2 actual plants. Like the process of the green versus black versus white comes from 2 separate tea plants, and it's all about how they process it in the oxidation process. So that to me is mind blowing because I'm like, how? But this is also why I'm like, these are the moments in life. These are the life moments where I'm like, there's so much magic in the world, and there's so much out there that we can't explain or comprehend. How can you get so many variations from 2 different things, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a word in that, but we're not gonna go there.
Okay. Okay.
But that kind of like that being at Tivana, experiencing that, understanding that there was a whole world of variables for tea out there, really kind of like opened me up to the idea of collecting and tasting and trying different things. So it's kind of been in me since then. But as a child, I used to love, like, sweet tea was my jam. As a kid,
Okay.
I
So
always
you
got.
don't you don't discriminate as far as like cold or hot teas.
Oh no, no, no. There is a reason for each one. Like there's a
Okay.
day when like on a nice summer day, I'm like, I want a little white tea, something refreshing, light. You know.
Let me ask you this: Are
hmm
you a sweet tea drinker or a bland tea drinker?
So here's the thing. I'm a bit of a tea purist now. I
Okay.
occasionally will indulge in a sweet tea, but what I'm going after when I have like my cup of tea, I want the actual flavor of the tea. So
Gotcha.
I don't put any sweetener in mine anymore.
So no sugar, no honey, nothing.
Mm-mm.
It's just straight. You
Mm-hmm.
brew your tea and you
Mm-hmm.
drink it straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a purist.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean I can I can associate with that because I'm a tea drinker.
Okay.
Coming from a Caribbean country, we grew up on
Mm-hmm.
tea.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, oh, you have to have something warm in the morning. So, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't give your kids coffee
Mm-hmm.
growing up. So it was always tea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, black teas, Earl Grey,
Mm-hmm.
English breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
But then I love all types of teas. And every year, we didn't do it this summer, but we typically go out to uh, Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
like Dutch country, Amish country, that type of area,
Mm-hmm.
and get like the bagged teas where they grow them and ground them up. So I get like different types, like mango peach, all
Okay.
different types. I love that stuff. And actually, the other TJ, and who is how we
Mm-hmm.
got connected,
Mm-hmm.
he's a big tea drinker also. He brought us some teas the last time he was here, so I've been
Ah.
drinking that. Yeah,
Okay.
love tea. I mean, I can drink tea morning, noon, and night. And of course,
Same.
I do drink coffee, but I prefer a good cup of tea.
Same.
But anyway,
Yeah. It
yeah,
helps me unwind.
yeah.
It's one of those things as I pour my cup now. It is one of those things that like legitimately, um, and I don't know when this happened for me, but it has become like meditative in a way.
Okay.
Like it's become like ritualistic and almost like a ceremony for me. So
So
there are,
therapeutic.
yeah, yeah, like there are certain teas that I reach for when I'm stressed, when I'm like upset, when I'm tired, when I need to think. There's yeah, yeah.
What are some of those teas?
So when I'm stressed, I usually go for like a dark black tea.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones is this tea called Lapsang. It's a Chinese black tea, and it is smoked, so it kind of tastes like whiskey. Like it has like a
Oh,
really, yeah, it's really like smoky. That is my go-to when I'm really stressed because I'm like, okay, this will calm me down. Um,
okay.
when I am like, when I need to think, I usually go for like a green or a white tea because I need something that's light enough that gives me a flavor, but doesn't that's not too hard on the palate. So like the black teas, the oolongs are like a little hard on the palate, like they're a little bitter. They have those tannins, if you drink wine, they give you that puckerness in your like mouth. So the black
Mm-hmm.
teas kind of do that, especially since I don't drink it with like sweeteners. Um,
Right.
so when I need to think or like process something, I usually reach for like a green or a white tea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we're on Tea with TJ,
hmm
talk about like the type of guests that you bring on the show and the type of conversations you have for those that aren't familiar with you, and
Yeah.
hopefully they will be after this, and they go and watch and
Yeah.
listen
hmm
to Tea with TJ.
Yeah, so it's a show for and by creatives. And I think I shared this with you when we talked Monday. I believe that the label creative is not necessarily tied to any specific like artistic skill. I'm a firm believer that I feel like as a creative, we all have a creative bone in our body.
Mhm.
That could be how you dress, that could be how you talk, that could be how you walk. So for me, when I say the show is for creatives, it's really for everyone. It's for anyone that can think outside of the box and can approach life through that type of lens. But we have a lot of actors because so many of my friends are performers, but they all do other things. So we talk about that. Writers, musicians, other podcasters. I have just a little, I don't know when this will come out, but I just did an interview 2 Sundays ago with the owner of this coffee shop around the corner from my place called the Oma Shop. Beautiful black woman. She has a beautiful family, but she's also a designer. So like she started a line when she was, I think she said 17 with her sister. And then fast forward to creating this coffee shop. Like she has designed everything inside of the coffee shop. So nothing has been purchased. She's designed everything down to the chairs. So we had like a lovely conversation in the shop itself. Like we filmed it in the shop, which was amazing. So thank you, Lizzie, if you're watching or if you hear this. But people like that, you know, and I'm still reaching out to folks that I can find that have interesting stories to tell, different perspectives, different things that they've learned along their journey to share with people, because I believe that, like, you know, we all can share our own stories and be a reflection for each other. You know, sometimes the best type of conversation can be some that you find yourself in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, because I find this very interesting. I always like to know how people find and bring on guests to interview, because it's not easy at all. You know, I mean, and I'm sure you know this firsthand.
Yeah.
You know, to get someone to come on your platform, a lot of times these are people that don't normally do this type of thing, where they sit down and do interviews. Like, why would you want to interview me? But, you know, you see something in them that you find unique and interesting. And for me personally, when I'm looking for someone, I'm looking to see if there's something about them that's unique that I feel as though it can be helpful to someone else. Because one, I'm not doing this particular show, this interview style show, just so people can hear me talk. It's really about allowing the person I'm bringing on to share their knowledge, their experiences, their journey, so that people can see themselves in that person who I'm having a conversation with. And how I feel like this format, I look at it as, and I always say this, we're meeting up in a coffee shop or a bar, and we're just having a conversation. You know, we've had a couple conversations since we did our show, the recap show. Oh God, sorry about that. Now I'm doing it.
Thanks, Apple.
It happens. But you know, having this conversation with you now, like I'm learning so much. I'm so intrigued, and like I have like, you know, some kind of like outlines of questions I might want to ask. But as I told you, you know, I really allow the conversation to dictate where it goes. You know, we're like way off of where I thought we would be. And I'm glad we are. I'm glad because this just means that it's a real, authentic conversation. And I'm getting to know you, and everyone else that's listening is getting to understand who you are and what makes you special. And then also just to know, you know, because I come from this with the respects of, this is really for people in the LGBTQIA plus community, to show them that no matter what you do in life, you can have a quote unquote normal life and do some amazing and extraordinary things. It doesn't, you know, you having issues when you're younger and being queer don't have to dictate your life in the future in a negative way. You can have positive experiences. You can have great relationships, find love, be married if you want to, have children, and have a family if you want to. So that's why I love doing this. But like I said, how do you find guests to be on your show?
Yeah, it's hard. It is really hard, and I think that's part of the slow rollout for me for season 4. So initially, I reached out to all my friends, right, trying to capture those conversations that we've had in real life. And so a lot of season 1 and season 2 is friends, people that I've worked with, like that I've done shows with. Because I knew going into the podcast space that like you have to keep audiences engaged and listening and wanting to like hear the stories. And so like this is no shade, but I knew that actors could talk, right? Like I knew that I didn't have to coax too much out of them to like get the conversation going. So it was kind of easy for the first 2 seasons. But then when I started to like really go outside of my circle and try to find people that I wanted these interesting stories to be told, and I knew that existed, it was so hard. So like I started looking to Instagram, I started looking to YouTube. One of the guests that I had on, I was actually a fan of their show. His name is Jay the Gentleman. He does Dear Black Gay Men.
Okay.
And I reached out to him just on a whim. I was not expecting, because his show is fairly big. And at that time, I think he was on an uptick to get to where he is now. But I just on a whim reached out and I was like, hey, would you be okay like being on my show? Like, I love your show, but like I think you have a lot of value and like could really add to the conversation. And immediately he responded and he was like, absolutely. He was like, I was waiting on you. So again, going back to what I said earlier, it's like you don't know unless you ask.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people that I have been timid about that I wanted to reach out to, I've just started with an ask of like, hey, I think you'd be great for this. I would love to have you on. I can't pay you because we're not there yet, but like know that I value you as a person and really want to get your story out. And 9 times out of 10, everyone has said yes. So trying to go through my own social circles, going through social media, I did use what was it called? Matchmaker.fm. I used for a hot second. They have moved to like a paid model, so I don't use it anymore. But they had a program where you could like search their database of like shows and hosts, and you could reach out to people to be a guest on your show. I will say, because similarly to you, my focus was also trying to get people who looked like me on the show. And there were not enough of us on that platform, unfortunately. So I didn't really use it too much. But yeah, I've been trying to find new ways to find people. And I mean, also in New York, I think, you know, we meet people everywhere here. So like,
Yeah.
you know, making a mental log of like, I had an interesting conversation with this. Maybe that person could be a guest, and trying to keep in contact that way too. Yeah.
Okay. One interesting question I have for you: how has your identity shaped your podcast and message,
Ooh.
or has it not?
I think it informs a lot of the conversations, because I'm speaking from a very specific perspective. But I will say, for Tea with TJ, we've not really talked too much about like sex, relationships, and love. It has been all about self and all about like reflective moments and like life insights. However, there was a conversation that I had with Jay the Gentleman from Dear Black Gay Men, where we touched briefly on polyamory with him, because I think I brought it up in conversation because, again, I do the same thing where I'm like, I have stuff prepared, but I really want to capture a real, you know, intimate conversation. And I think I mentioned it in passing, and it turned into a whole separate section that I was like, great, we're going to explore this and we'll share. And because of that, someone saw the video on YouTube and reached out to me and was like, I don't have a lot of experiences or like have found a lot of media about Black people, Black males specifically, or, you know, Black gay men speaking about polyamory. I would love to come on your show and have this conversation. And so we did a 2-parter. His name is Lonnie Woods. He lives in LA, but we did a 2-parter about it. So like even stuff like that, where I'm like, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and honest in the moment could yield something that you aren't even expecting, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I find it to be the truth all the time. And, you know, going back to something you said earlier, I truly believe if you have to be fearless and just say, hey, I'm going to ask this person if they're willing to come on, because I'm a true believer in, you know, if you ask someone to do something and they say no, you have not lost anything. You're in the exact same position you were before you started.
Yep.
And you will actually surprise yourself how many people will say yes. I mean, I'll use the recap show as a perfect example. This past season of the recap show, we did for Project Runway. And never in our wildest dreams did we think that we would, we knew we wanted to have like guest hosts on and, you know, see where we could go from there. But nowhere did we ever think that we could get the contestants to come on. And we've had 2 contestants from the show on our platform.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, these were just all on a whim saying, hey, I said, let's just reach out to them in the DM. They did, and they responded, said yes, and they had such a great time. We had a great time with them. So you never know until you try.
Yeah.
The most successful people in the world, in business and in life, are people that take risks and ask questions.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn, you're not going to get anywhere in life if you just stay stagnant and don't allow yourself to be around other people, to be in the spaces that they're in, because I want to keep moving up, and you can't keep moving up if you're not willing to move.
Exactly.
To take chances. And here's the other thing too: you have to bet on yourself. If you don't bet on yourself, you don't know what you can do and what your potential is.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so before we get ready to close out, I got 3 small questions, and you can kind of elaborate a little bit on. And we're calling it wisdom for listeners. All right.
Okay.
So the first question is, what advice would you give to someone feeling lost or unsure of who they are?
I think my biggest thing would be to learn to sit with yourself. Something that I learned, I think, in tandem with not only being an actor, but also living in New York and going through therapy, is that at the end of the day, right, we have our family, we have our friends, we have our loved ones, we have our partners, but you have you, right? So learning to seriously sit with yourself and really say, okay, I am worth X. I am these things. I am really great at X, Y, and Z. I'm really great at riding a bike, or, you know, whatever it may be. Learning those things about yourself so that you can actually accept yourself, I think, is the best place to start. Well,
that's a great answer. All right. No, it really is.
Oh.
How do you stay grounded when life gets overwhelming?
Oh, Jesus. This. But I think there are a few things for me. I think I enjoy, and I feel like anyone outside of New York City may not understand this, but I think a good walk for me does something to me. I don't know if it's the movement, if it's the feeling of the like ground underneath my feet, but when I feel fleeting or feel like I am kind of like a chaotic mess, a walk is something that kind of like recenters me.
Okay.
That I don't know if it's the act of the movement, it could be, I don't know, but that space and being able to connect with my breath and like put that movement forward really kind of eases my mind. Yeah.
You touched something in me when you just said that. You triggered something in me, because I can relate to that. I am an avid walker, and I want to say runner. I have not been running like I used to for the last year or so. But when you said the connection of your breath, I know for a fact, especially when it comes to running, you know, people say, oh, I can't run. You know, I'm always running out of breath. And to be honest with you, because I used to do this, that's such a cop out in a way, because running really is about breath control. And once you find that rhythm of how to breathe through the running, it becomes effortless, and you can just run, and you'd be surprised how much you can run, unless you have like some type of ailment with like knees or ankles or stuff like that. And you know, after running for a while, it can do that to you, but there's something about that connection of your breathing and the pace that you create. And then also, you know, if you walk or run with music or podcasts or, you know, whatever type of medium you like to listen to is really therapeutic. So I connect with you on that level as well.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in like, you can breathe through anything.
Yes, you can.
Anything.
Yeah, you really can.
Yeah.
All right, the last wisdom for listeners question. What's a mantra or belief you return to when you need strength?
Oh, this is going to be crazy. because it is so typical, but I firmly believe it, and I'll explain. This too shall pass. And I will say this because the first time that I ever started like working out, like years ago, excuse me, I remember thinking to myself, and this is how powerful our minds are, right? I remember thinking to myself, being like, oh my God, this is so hard. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, it's only been a minute. It's only been 2 minutes, right? But at some point in learning how to like do it and like getting into a rhythm, there was something that clicked in me that was like, wait a minute, time has to pass no matter what, right? I can't stop it. So let's play with it. Let's engage with it. Let's move with it, so that my understanding up here is that, okay, yes, my workout is 45 minutes. 30 minutes of that is treadmill work. The other 30 is lifting weights or whatever. And maybe the treadmill is the hardest part for me, right? Taking each breath, each beat, we like to say beats as an actor, taking each breath, each beat, and engaging with it and allowing the time to move with it, instead of me focusing on, oh my God, I've only been moving for 2 minutes, right? And I am a type of person where I'm like, I believe glass half full, right? I've always done that. But that was really the first time where that thought of like, this too shall pass, kind of settled with me. And it's really how I get through life now, where I'm like, any hard situation, any like traumatic whatever, I'm like, well, here's the thing. I know that at some point it has to move on, right? That's just how time works, right? That's the realist part of my brain, that like, I know that every day I'm going to hit noon. At every day I'm going to hit 1 o'clock. At every day I'm going to hit 2 o'clock. So there's an opportunity there for me to accept it and work with it, instead of trying to battle this idea of like, oh my God, like fixating on it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I'm like, it has helped a lot up here.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this, because you've mentioned a couple of times, and I want you to just talk a little bit about it. But you're an actor. Talk about your acting background, history, and experiences.
Yeah. So I went to school for musical theater in Chicago. Moved.
Sci-town.
Yeah. Also, I miss that city. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful city.
Beautiful. Yeah. Been in New York since 2010. I have toured a bunch. I have done regional work. I've done like some voiceover stuff. I've not done much TV and film because I really don't have a passion for it, honestly. But I'm a singer, so I'm a baritone bass is my like vocal range. It's so weird to talk about musical theater because I feel like I talk about it all the time. So I'm trying to find a quicker way.
We don't know that.
But yeah, so I do musicals. I sing, I act, I don't dance. In that order. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to know? I'm like, this one is a.
Well, no, like is there anything we might have seen you in? Like, throw some names out.
I mean, I'm not that big. Like, we're still working up. But show wise, I mean, I will give you my resume. I have done Little Shop of Horrors. I played the plant, the voice of Audrey 2. I have done some children's theater. When I first moved to New York, I did a national tour of Clifford the Big Red Dog. If you remember that book. Yeah. I have done Jesus Christ Superstar. I played Caiaphas. I've done, what is the other one? Jesus. Rent. I was a ensemble in Rent. Yes. I'm trying to get my way back to that show, but people are starting to do it again. I've done a lot of new works. So like new plays and musicals in the city. Right before the pandemic, I was working at Disney World as Gil in Finding Nemo the Musical, which is how I got my equity card, which is the union for theater performers. What else?
Speaking of which, aren't they? Didn't they just vote to strike?
I don't know. I mean, it's been a minute. I don't think so. I feel like they were They were probably trying to decide if the character performers were going to be in the union, because historically they haven't been. So I know that has been like a constant battle, but I haven't like looked at them in a while. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like going through my mind of like things that I've done. I did a voiceover for California health insurance during the pandemic.
You stay busy.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's theater is weird. Like being an actor is hard, and you really have to love it. And fortunately and unfortunately, I actually really love it. I love storytelling. I love being on stage. I love singing. And it's not for the money, like.
Listen, as creatives, a lot of times it's not for the money. We just love what we love, and we love to do it. And if we can make some dollars off of it, that's a bonus. Yeah. It's crazy. TJ, this has been so much fun. I've learned so much about you, and I feel like I just wanted to learn more. But of course, time always is of essence, and we're always limited with time. But before we go, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find Tea with TJ on all podcast platforms. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and it's at Tea with TJ Podcast. And you can find me. I just changed this, by the way, so I'm going to remember what it was. But my handle is just TJ, TEAJAYY. I was like, that's an interesting handle. And I was like, we're going to change it up.
Well, it'll be in the description below. So, we'll make sure to have it for the people.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right. And I have to say this because I don't know if I mentioned to you before, but you have such a soothing and pleasant voice. You have like that quintessential podcast / radio / TV voice.
Thank you.
It's actually very soothing. Like I'm feeling very relaxed.
Good.
And I'm remiss that I did not have my tea with me. Because normally I'm like, when I'm on my lives, whatever, during the week, I have like a cup of tea with me. So, and I missed an opportunity, but you know what?
That's all right.
It's all right. It's all right. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Safe Space with TJ Bolden. Please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and then also hit the notification button so you can get notified every time a new video drops. We are here on Indie Soup Network and also on Constantly Changing for Me. So until next time, everyone have a great week, and I'll see you around. Goodbye, everybody. Bye TJ. Thanks for watching us here on Indie Soup Media and also on Constantly Changing for Me. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and hit the notification button. And we'll see you guys here next week.